There has been so much about this case, and a lot of this is under seal, but from the little driplets that we get as a public from the court documents, we're getting a lot, but at the same time, we're not really getting a lot. I know that's contradictory. So for the Kohberger case, last week I covered the 911 call. Now, we didn't get to listen to the 911 call that's out right now, but we read the transcript. So I think today we're going to cover the 911 call. But most importantly, I want to focus on one of the major witnesses in this case, which is the surviving roommate D.M. That is what she is referred to. And so D.M. said that she saw possibly the suspect that night, clad in all black, wearing something covering, his head, his mouth, his nose, but she was able to see his eyes. She was able to tell that he was white. She was able to give the description of his build and, height to law enforcement. Sorry, my mind had a little hiccup right there. That happens sometimes. You're doing videos like this. I applaud content creators who can do this all in one take. That is something I cannot do whatsoever. So from the court documents, we also find that the defense seems to want to put that Kohberger has autism. We'll get into that later on. This might have to be a two-part video. I think it might be better to do that. So keep an eye out for the second video. And then also, we get to see what law enforcement saw before going into Kohberger's parents' house, his movements around the house, and the reason why they didn't do the usual knock and announce, something that you're supposed to do when you're in Pennsylvania. And then there are these crucial motions that the defense has put in, but now it's been denied by the court. And we wanted to go over that as well, because, oh my gosh, this has been a long string of motions and arguments in the court back and forth. And I really wanted to know what was going to happen, because I had questions about, the Amazon searches, about the click history. There was also these Apple accounts. There was also the Google stuff. Will they allow that into court, or are there issues with it? It seems like there might be a lot of evidence against Bryan Kohberger, but at the same time, is there a lot of evidence? So, in my opinion, like I said, we get to see little tiny pieces coming out through the court docs here and there. And it's not until we'll get to the court trial, which will be sometime in the beginning of the autumn, if it doesn't get pushed back again. It will be until then where everything will really get pieced together, because there's also the IgG stuff, the investigative genetic genealogy. Was that going to be allowed in? If that wasn't going to be allowed in, well, they would have no suspect, because eventually that is the tip that was given to law enforcement that ultimately led to Bryan Kohberger. Not because he was pulled over before, not because, they looked through maybe the victim's Instagram and noticed there was a guy liking, commenting, stuff like that. No, it was through this IgG tip. And that's the reason why the defense wanted to have that thrown out. They found DNA on the knife sheath that was underneath the covers next to one of the victim's body. I believe it was Madison Mogan. And when they put that DNA into CODIS, they didn't see a match. There was no one in there that, usually CODIS is where you go to the criminal, DNA database, you see there's a match. From that, it's okay, well, this might be their first time, or maybe they weren't caught before. They were never arrested. There's no reason for them to have their DNA into the database. It seems like FBI took over and they were able to match this DNA to relatives in I keep saying My Ancestor, but I know that's not the website. But there's these websites where you basically give them your DNA and they're like, oh, hey, you might have family here, or here's the make of your heritage. Here's the percentages. You might be Caucasian, Asian, stuff like that. So that's basically what happened. That's how they were able to pinpoint to Bryan Kohberger as a suspect. But anyways, I think, like I said, I think this has to be a two-part video because there'll be too much to cover. But today we're going to focus on DM and the statements that she made to law enforcement, because like I said, we know some of the statements that she made to law enforcement, but now we're getting more information from their court documents, and we're going to cover that today. The defense is asking for a Frank's motion, and for those of you guys who follow other cases, Frank's motion might be something that you're familiar with. The defense is claiming that law enforcement either recklessly or intentionally and or omitted important information in their arrest affidavits. Is it called arrest affidavit? Yeah, probable cause affidavit. Probable cause affidavit, I think. And these probable cause affidavits were used to support the search warrants that were executed on Brian Kohberger and his properties and his car and his parents' house. The parts that we're going to be focusing on are the statements made by DM. The defense claims that DM made statements saying that her memory was possibly unreliable and that she was actually shown a picture of Brian Kohberger. She didn't recognize him. She didn't know who it was. Didn't ID him as a suspect that she saw in the hallway that night. And so the defense says that this is potentially exculpatory and it could be material. These are things that were omitted in the law enforcement affidavit. Now, the judge is going to disagree with all of this, and we're going to get into why. But first, let's get into the statements made to law enforcement by DM. Okay, I don't know why it highlighted all clunky like this, but just bear with me. I'm going to read it to you. You guys don't even have to look at this document, okay? Do your thing in the background. Have me in the background while you guys are doing busy stuff, okay? All right, DM made statements during interview that indicated the occupants of the King Road residence were at home by 2 a.m. and reportedly asleep by approximately 4 a.m. This is with the exception of Xana Kernoodle, who received a DoorDash order at the residence at approximately 4 a.m. And remember, Xana Kernoodle is one of the victims. DM stated that she was awoken at approximately 4 a.m. by what she stated sounded like Gonzalez playing with her dog, again, another victim, in one of the upstairs bedrooms, which is located on the 3rd floor. A short time later, DM said she heard who she thought was Gonzalez say something to the effect of, "There's someone here." A review of forensic records associated with the download of Kernoodle's cellular phone indicated that she was likely awake and using the TikTok app at approximately 4:12 a.m. DM stated that she looked out of her bedroom but did not see anything when she heard the comment about someone being in the house. DM stated she opened her door a second time when she heard what she thought was crying coming from Kernoodle's room. DM then said she heard a male voice say something to the effect of, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." At approximately 4:17 a.m., a camera at 11, did I have the number wrong? I thought it was 1122. 1112 King Road picked up audio of what sounded like a struggle coming from off camera. The security camera is less than 50 feet from Kernoodle's bedroom wall. The struggle lasted less than 1 minute and unintelligible sounds can be heard on the camera. DM stated she opened her door for the 3rd time after she heard the crying and saw a figure clad in black clothing and a mask that covered the person's mouth and nose walking towards her. DM described the figure as 5'10" or taller, male, not very muscular, but athletically built with bushy eyebrows. The male walked past DM as she stood in a frozen shock phase. As the male walked towards the backsliding glass door, DM locked herself in the room after seeing the male. Now, I don't think anything here was new information. However, I think we did get more of a detailed account on her looking out first time, second time, and then again a 3rd time. Her description of the intruder was notably similar during all 3 interviews. So she had 2 interviews on November 13, 2022, and then she had another one on November 17, 2022. So what were the notes from the 3 interviews that were notably similar? 1, white male. 2, slim, skinny, lean, build, body type. 3, slightly taller than DM, 5'10". 4, wearing all black. 5, wearing a mask that was covering his forehead and mouth. 6, a voice she didn't recognize saying he was here to help. And 7, the intruder walking out towards the backsliding door without saying anything to her. While she did not tell Officer Nunez that she noticed the intruder carrying a vacuum-type object in his hand. What is a vacuum-type object? Could that have just been the knife, I guess? I mean, the knife sheath was left behind. Was a vacuum-type object maybe from far away in the dark? Could that have looked like? Could that have been the knife? She did convey that information to Detective Mowry later that day, as well to Detective Gooch a few days after that. She also told Detective Gooch that she remembered the suspect's eyebrows were bushy, but she could not remember the color. So I think some information that we got out of this one, now we know how many times she was interviewed, when she was interviewed, and then now we're hearing about a vacuum type object in his hand. Also, I think initially when I heard about DM's account of this intruder, I could have sworn that my understanding was the intruder whisper to DM, "It's okay, I'm going to help." Or did I have that mixed up? I don't know. Now I don't remember. Maybe I did know that DM heard that coming from Xana Kernodle's room. And then we have a security camera that can hear a struggle that lasted about a minute. And I think we also see a suspect possibly leaving the King Road house. Man, it'd be very interesting to see if that camera is going to be clear enough to see anything. And also the car leaving the residence. Now, scrolling down, we are getting some excerpts, some quotes from what she said directly to the detective during the interview. And I don't think we've gotten this content yet. For example, she told Detective Mallory everything was kind of blurry. Like, I don't fully remember it, I would say. A few days later, while recounting the events to Detective Gooch, DM stated, "Again, I believe I was also very drunk. I don't know how much of this is real. Like, I don't know if my mind was like doing whatever. I don't know any of it. Like, half the stuff, I don't know if it's a dream or if it's real. I just have no clue." She also said that her memory was fuzzy, cloudy, and that she could not differentiate if anything is real or if anything is a dream. Now, you guys got to remember, in this 1122 Kings Road house, this was a college house. I think this was happening on a weekend where, what do college students do? They go out, they drink, they have fun. Most of the people that were in this house were either having a night of drinking, were still drunk, or coming off being drunk. It makes sense why DM would question her memories, especially when something traumatic like this happens. Sometimes you're not sure, like, wait, did I actually see what I saw? Maybe you go into like a defense mechanism where you're like in a stage of denial. The judge still found DM to be someone who was a reliable witness, despite the qualifications that she made, saying that, oh, my memory could have been fuzzy, I could have remembered incorrectly, felt like I was in a dream state. The judge still said that this is a witness that is reliable. And here's what he says. She was a direct witness and was able to consistently articulate the details she remembered throughout each interview, especially as the facts relied on in the search warrant affidavits. Despite the fact that she claimed her memory was fuzzy, or that she felt like it was a dream, or that she was still intoxicated. Further, even if her reliability were in question, there were other evidence, including the Exhibit A's that corroborated her account. That's going to be very important. For example, security camera at 1112. So it is 1112. Okay, I thought it was 1122. Sorry, guys. I said 1122 early. Just disregard that. 1112 King Road picked up the audio of a struggle at 4:17 a.m., which coincides with when DM stated she thought she heard crying coming from Ms. Kernoodle's room. Now, if I remember correctly, for the layout for the house, DM was on the same floor as Xana Kernoodle. And then upstairs would have been where Madison Mogan and Kaylee Gonzalez were. They were sleeping together, I think, in one of the girls' rooms. This is something that they normally do. They're very close with each other. I think they're best friends. So that way you guys kind of get a layout of where everything was. Now, I did hear this. The state, apparently, the FBI is going to, because you guys know they tore down the 1112 King Road house. I don't know why, but they tore it down. And so the FBI is working on constructing a 3D model where you can take away each of the floors away, and to show the jurors and maybe even help with the witness testifying the stand where things were found in the house, like evidence, where the locations of the victims were, and how far away the witnesses or how close the witnesses would have been hearing some of this. So that'll be really helpful, I think. And they are hoping that the court will allow them to have this 3D model in the courtroom. So I hope to be able to see it. I think it's very helpful to have visual aids. All right, so going back to this, now we know that there's an audio that picked up a struggle. Now, I think we already knew about this through the news. I don't know if we knew that apparently this was a struggle that lasted 1 minute long. Now, a lot of you guys are probably thinking, if someone's coming after you with a knife, why aren't you shouting, screaming, asking for help? Honestly, I'm thinking when you're in that moment and you're in so much fear and your first instinct is to try to defend yourself, it would just be to struggle with the person, with the intruder. I don't know if everyone's going to start yelling and shouting, like, hey, help me, call law enforcement. I don't know. It could just be on focusing on the struggle that's happening right in front of you. Okay, so DM was traumatized when they noted that she stood in a frozen shock phase when she saw the intruder. This would have been the third time when she opened the door. This necessarily alerted the magistrate that DM's memories were colored by trauma and shock, which goes to the issue of her reliability the defendant targets in this motion. Again, the magistrate is the judge who would have approved the search warrant affidavit. Sorry, the search warrant application, and instead of saying the judge, they just say the magistrate. And I think, yeah, in case you're not like in the US and you didn't know that. It would have been no surprise to the magistrate that a person experiencing what DM must have experienced would have been shaken by what happened and would have questioned the reality of what she perceived. This does not render her unreliable. I could see that because as she's giving these, interviews to law enforcement, especially the 2 interviews that she gave on, was it November 13? She would have still been processing the memories, things that happened to her the night before. And so I would rather have a witness that acts more human, someone who is, obviously in trauma, who is shocked, processing through it, and then questions even. Maybe being in denial at some point, right? Rather than a witness who's like, oh yeah, this happened X, Y, and Z, and say with like 100% conviction that they were 100% sure. Someone who went through this trauma and someone who's so young, I could totally understand and see how she was mentally and verbally processing everything that was happening to her as she's relaying the information to the detectives during the interviews. Now, let's talk about the mugshot. The mugshot was shown to DM after Kohberger was arrested, and she didn't recognize. I don't think she was able to ID him. I don't know if they did one of those things where they had his mugshot along with like other people, and they're like, hey, can you ID the person that you saw that night? And she probably looked at it and was like, no, I can't. Now, the judge says that, well, that's no surprise. She did say that the suspect in the house, although she was able to figure out that he was white and had bushy eyebrows, she did say the suspect was covered in some sort of black cloth that covered his nose and covered his mouth as well. I don't know if I would be able to ID it, especially if it was like 4 a.m. I'm like super sleepy. I might have been drunk as well, coming off, drinking alcohol. I don't know how much she drank. And then it's also probably dark at night. That would have been really hard to ID. Now, the defense is saying that, well, this could have been exculpatory and that wasn't included in the arrest affidavit or probable cause affidavit. During her December 30, 2022 interview with law enforcement, DM was shown a defendant's mugshot and asked by Detective Lake whether the person was the person she saw in the house. Wait, I wonder, hold on, because aren't you supposed to show like the mugshot and then like a bunch of other people? That way it's not, you're not kind of like, if you see one picture, you might be inclined to say, yes, that's him versus him in like a lineup. I'm assuming maybe it was a lineup. Hopefully they did it that way. DM responded, I have no clue. From what I remember, I just remember seeing this figure that was more of like the skinnier tone build and some mask on. I don't know if it was covering his mouth, his nose, or below his mouth and nose. I just remember he was white, but I didn't know how he was white. I just knew he was. And I knew he looked at me because of the bushy eyebrows. Now, I wonder if the suspect, sometimes if you're wearing like a black ski mask, I don't know. I saw this on Batman with Robert Pattinson, and I was like, oh, that's kind of genius. When people wear like ski masks or like any sort of black mask, they might paint their eyelid area like a raccoon as well. That way you can't tell what skin tone they are underneath it. Her interview statements were consistent, described as a black-clad, masked person who was not someone she thought she knew or could justify. Her inability to recognize the defendant unmasked is expected, particularly where her description as relayed in the Exhibit A's describe a masked person that covered the person's mouth and nose. Let's jump over to the shoe print. Apparently, there was a shoe print in front of, I think, DM's door. Now, the layout of the place, so like I mentioned, Kaylee and Madison would have been upstairs. Xana Kernodle and I'm assuming Ethan Chapin would have been on the same floor as DM. DM's bedroom is at basically the bottom of the staircase that's leading upstairs to where Madison and Kaylee would have been. Now, let's talk about this shoe footprint. I don't know. I think the defense is saying that there was no shoe footprint, or maybe they're saying that it's not the suspects. So the defendant challenges a false statement made in the Payne Exhibit A about a footprint found outside DM's door. Detective Payne stated During the processing of a crime scene, investigators later found a latent, they didn't say later. Why did they say later? I think I saw later. I thought later, I don't know. During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans-type shoe sole just outside of the door of DM's bedroom, located on the second floor. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. It says second floor there, but the house is technically like a 3-story home because the house is on a sort of a hill where one side, the first floor would have been second floor, and then on the other side, the first floor would have been like basement floor, the entrance would have been on the second floor, and then the entrance on the back side would have been on the basement floor. If I remember correctly, we have pictures. That way you can understand what I was trying to explain. So you see how this is the back side of the house? Here's the front side of the house. Now, the front side of the house, you would be entering technically on the first floor, but when you go over to the back side of the house, you can enter through the sliding glass door somewhere around here through the second floor. Shout out to Reddit. They have the house plan on here. Oh, that's amazing. Okay, so the house plan. We've got bedroom number 1, bedroom number 2. Is this upstairs? I think this might be upstairs. Oh no, this is first floor. So this is the first floor. Bedroom 3, I'm assuming, would have been DM's bedroom because the landing from the staircase going upstairs is in front of her bedroom. So I think this is where she opened the door. She saw the suspect, I guess, leaving from one of the bedrooms. Wait, hold on a second. What is bedroom 4 Xana's bedroom? So the path of travel would have been from the bedroom to here, or suspect coming from downstairs to the sliding glass door over here. Oh, interesting. I gotta go back and look at this. She told law enforcement she saw the defendant walk past her bedroom door after she opened it for a third time. And then I opened the door again, and the guy is right there. Her quotes again. I think he was walking past my door and saw me. I would say he was about 3 feet away from her. DM's bedroom door is immediately at the landing at the base of the stairs leading up to the upstairs bedrooms. The shoe print was therefore reasonably within the suspect's path of travel as described by DM. Okay, so I think the timeline was going all the way upstairs first. That's where he heard going all the way upstairs first. That's where DM would have heard Kaylee and Madison Mogan. And then the suspect went, wow, it's so crazy. Do you think DM just had her door locked and everyone else just had their door unlocked? It just seems like it's targeted. Why leave the remaining roommates behind? Or did he not know that that was possibly a bedroom? Because you saw the layout. You would have to pass DM's room, go through the living room in order to get to Xana Kernoodle's bedroom. Oh, I forgot about this part. Now, I did say I was going to focus mostly on DM statements, but I think reading about the dog barking one is pretty interesting. You guys let me know if this is interesting or not. In this issue, defendant challenges omissions pertaining to the barking dog referenced in the Payne exhibit. It states that approximately at 4:17 a.m., a security camera located at the nearby residence on King Road picked up a distorted audio of what sounded like voices or a whimper, followed by a loud thud. A dog can also be heard barking numerous times starting at 4:17 a.m. The only other information in the Payne Exhibit A pertaining to a dog refers to the fact that Kaylee Gonzalez's dog, Murphy, was found in her room by first responders. Yeah, the dog was not harmed. Defendant contends that Detective Payne failed to include 3 allegedly important pieces of information pertaining to the dog. 1. The dog can be heard on the security camera continue to bark for 30 minutes after the suspect left. 2. Detective Payne conducted a test to determine that the dog was likely outside while barking. 3. Murphy was found without any blood on him, even though the bedroom doors were open where the decedents were found. Oh, Murphy. According to the defendant, this omitted information would have revealed that whoever was in the house brought the dog back inside after the suspect vehicle left. Interesting. What is the defense's theory here, possibly? He further argues this information is material and exculpatory because it undermines the narrative and the timeline that supports the probable cause. However, defendant's argument assumes, without proof, that there were no doors left open in the home after the suspect left. This assumption is not only speculative, but contrary to evidence in his proffer that the sliding glass door to the residence, the same door toward which DM reportedly saw the suspect walk, was left open. Thus, if the dog heard barking was in fact Murphy, it could well have come inside through the open door and gone into Miss Gonzalez's room on his own. Oh, where it evidently remained. Oh, Murphy. There is simply no evidence to adopt the defendant's speculation that someone brought Murphy inside after the suspect left the resident. Consequently, the defendant has not shown the failure of law enforcement to speculate what was material and exculpatory information or omission that was intentionally or recklessly included. So there's other stuff that was raised in the defense's motion for a Frank's hearing, and like I said, I was only going to focus on one thing, but the dog part was pretty interesting. And that's pretty much it. The judge denied the defendant's motion for a Frank's hearing. And man, the judge has denied a lot of the defense's motion. And I will go through them in a different video. And like I said, I mentioned that the defense is also putting out there that Brian Kohberger is someone who has autism disorder. And that's when they were trying to argue that he shouldn't be someone who's going to be up for the death penalty, because that is what he is potentially facing. They're not trying to say that, like, oh, you know, he did this and that his crimes should be found not guilty by, you know, by insanity or something. But they're saying that, like, oh, well, he has autism spectrum disorder, and someone who has this type of disorder should not be punishable by death penalty if that ends up happening, if he was ever found convicted guilty for the murders. And I think the fifth charge was like burglary or something. Now, we're going to jump over to the 911 call. And as I mentioned, I've already read the transcript to you guys, but I haven't listened to the 911 call with you guys yet. I've listened to it on my own, but I want to listen to it again. Now, when you're reading the transcripts, it's hard to get the tone sometimes, right? Because we're just seeing words on a piece of paper. There's no tone, there's no cadence. We don't hear maybe like panic in someone's tone, or maybe like a shock or cries or things like that. In the transcript, it just stated what was being heard on this recorded 911 phone call. So let's listen to it together and see if, you know, if it's completely different than what we thought in a 911 call. Because I think in a 911 call, when we're reading the transcript, you know, you might think that the people that were talking just sounded relaxed and sounded very chill about it. When in fact, when you listen to the call, it's very different. I'm going to have the captions on, but it might not be 100% accurate.
11:55 a.m. 42 seconds, November 13, 2022.
911 location of your emergency.
Hi, something is happening. Something happened in our house. We don't know what.
What is the address of the emergency?
1122.
What is the rest of the address?
Oh, Kings Road.
Okay. And is that a house or an apartment?
Oh, wait, the address is 1122. Okay, so the court docs 1112 is incorrect.
It's a house.
Can you repeat the address to make sure that I have it right?
I'll talk to you guys. We live at the White, so we're next to them.
I need someone to repeat the address for verification.
The address, 1122 King Road.
And what's the phone number that you're calling from?
What's your phone number?
Man, this dispatcher sounds very robotic. Is this AI?
And tell me exactly what's going on.
One of the roommates has passed out, and she was drunk last night and she's not waking up.
Okay.
Oh, and they saw some man in their house last night. Yeah. Hi, this is.
And are you with the patient? Okay, I need someone to keep the phone, stop passing it around.
Can I just tell you what happened pretty much?
What is going on currently? Is someone passed out right now?
I don't really know, but pretty much at 4 a.m.
Okay, I need to know what's going on right now if someone is passed out. Can you find that out?
Yeah, I'll come. Come on, we gotta go check. But we have to.
Yeah, so it sounds like to me they haven't gone and checked yet to visually confirm. It's probably just messages being sent to the victims. The victims aren't replying. And they call 911 and they're like, oh gosh, guys, we have to go check to see like what's the matter, what's going on. Also, I've heard a lot of 911 calls before where the dispatchers are way more compassionate. I don't know if it's like in the manual book to just like lack any sort of human emotion or empathy. I do understand making them, you know, essentially if someone starts becoming hysterical or coherent, or they're not answering pertinent, they're not answering questions that are pertinent to the information that you're trying to get. I understand that. I understand that they need to figure out, you know, whether they need to send law enforcement or ambulance, but come on, there's a way to just talk to people there's way more compassion than this. This is just so robotic to me, but I don't know, maybe it's in like the dispatcher handbook where it's just like, okay, sound as robotic as you can, but I just feel like, gosh, I don't know. I don't like the dispatcher. So I can hear, is she passed out? And then I could hear, is she passed out? But like in a whisper.
What's wrong? She's not waking up.
Okay, one moment. I'm getting help started that way.
Okay, thank you.
Now, I remember wondering why they would assume that she's passed out after visually confirming that she's not waking up, because our assumptions were there would have been blood everywhere. Like, isn't there bloods on the wall, maybe on the floor? Why would you think someone is passed out? Maybe it's possible that she could have been covered in maybe a blanket. Maybe blood wasn't visible. Maybe there weren't blood splatters. Yeah, this is like terrorizing. You can hear like the intense breathing.
Okay, and how old is she?
She's 20.
20, you said?
Yes, 20 here to
Okay.
them.
Hello?
Now, my question is, was Ethan not found in the same area as Xana? I just assumed, because I believe Ethan and Xana were dating. So I would assume they were found together in the bedroom, but I don't know.
Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay. Sorry, they just...
Yeah, that's just like so unnecessary, because I've talked to 4 different people. I hate this operator. Oh, you know what? They might make this operator testify at the stand. You know, sometimes they have the dispatcher would testify to the stand and be like, hey, yeah, I was one who received this call. And they play the 911 call in the courtroom. I'd be very interested to see the face of this person.
gave me the phone.
Is she breathing? Because I've talked.
Hello?
Okay, I need someone to stop passing the phone around because I've talked to 4 different people.
Okay. Sorry, they just gave me the phone.
Is she breathing?
Hello?
Is she breathing?
No.
Okay.
You should talk to them, okay? I can't talk to them. I need you to talk to them.
Hello.
Okay. I have already sent the ambulance and law enforcement. Stay on the line. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when you have it.
Say that again. There's a police here right now.
Okay. If there is a defibrillator available, send someone to get it now and tell me when
Wow, police got there really fast.
you have it.
We don't have one. I think yes. Do you have a defibrillator? Yes, you have one.
Are you talking to the officer?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to let you go since he's there with you and can help you.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Okay.
11:59 a.m. 49 seconds, November 13, 2022.
Yeah, this just sounds incredibly traumatic for them. They sound so young. They sound like kids. I know they're, not teenagers and they're probably in their 20s, but you could just hear it in their voice. You could just hear it in their tone of just how traumatic this is. Discovering someone that you know, discovering a friend in that condition. And I think I heard from one of the victims' families did say that one of the guys that were there is actually best friends with Ethan Chapin. So yeah, super, super sad. And I know I said that, like, oh my gosh, I don't understand. If you saw a masked person, why didn't you call 911? But I think putting all the factors in together, being young, early 20s, you might have been drunk, you're not sure what you heard, maybe you're in denial. Yeah. You never know what you're going to do in that moment, right? We always feel like we're going to do the right thing, right? In retrospect, but I don't know. I think it's a hard one. And I did mention that, if I was, family members of victims, I probably would feel a little bit angry, disappointed. But, you got to remember that at the end of the day, there is one person that's involved, or maybe multiple people, if you don't believe that Kohberger did it. But can't blame the people that were not responsible for the murders. And I did also mention that, really at the end of the day, it's up to the family members. And from what I've heard, I think I've heard 2 statements so far from the family members where I don't think they have any ill will towards these kids. They understand, like, hey, they're young. They just found their friends in this condition. They were panicked. So, yeah. All right, guys. Well, that's about it for today. We covered the 911 call. We covered the statements made by DM and how the defense wanted to have a Franks hearing, and that was denied by the judge. So the next video we're going to talk about the defense claiming that Bryan Kohberger went through a neuropsychological evaluation and a psychiatric evaluation, and they said that he has autism spectrum disorder. Now, of course, a lot of the stuff is sealed. However, in the motion that they are arguing, it's going to contain some excerpts as to what were some of the observations made by the doctor in order to determine that he has this disorder. And then additionally, I did want to talk about law enforcement observing Bryan Kohberger's movements in his parents' house before they went in to essentially, go through his parents' house and arrest him. So that will be in a separate video because I didn't want to make this video too long. Or I don't know, do you prefer longer videos? Should I just put it all in one video? Or is it better to section by topics and you can just choose what you're interested in watching? I don't know, because we also have chapters, right? All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Thank you so much for hanging out. I hope you guys have a good one. Feel free to join the Discord if you want to. We'll see what we're going to stream this week. And other than that, have a good one. Take care, y'all. Thank you. Bye.